Hi folks, it's John from lastchanceautorestore.com. This is the an update for the Factory 5 Racing Type 65 custom build that we're doing. We apologize, our camera person is away, so I thought we're making quite a bit of progress on this car. This is a custom build, and it's based on, basically it's a tribute car to the Shelby Daytona. And in a previous video we were talking about performing the bodywork along the front, which you can see above the fenders where the hood, where those seams are. We're continuing doing the bodywork on there. And then we had the rear hatch or rear glass hatch was done. So we're making a lot of progress. So I thought we'd just basically give you another little update on it without getting too long-winded. This passenger front nose section, if you recall in previous videos, we were talking about how it just didn't really fit in the mold very well. It stuck out quite a bit and we had to do a repair on it. So we've went ahead and we've repaired it. So we basically had to cut out and basically cut the groove out that was sticking out too much. And then what we did is basically screwed it back into position so it was level with the rest of the fender and nose, and then we fiberglassed it, and I think it might be too dark in here, but we'll shoot another video later. So in behind here we've reinforced, yeah, it's probably too dark, so we've reinforced it with fiberglass matting, and so it has the strength as it should, and then the smooth, we've done some body smoother and block sanded it out. So that's the first coat or first skim of body filler. But it's just in the crease in the repair, which is probably hard to tell in the video. We didn't want to change the contour of that fender and where it extends up and goes around the flare. So we were lucky enough, once we cut it, we leveled it all out, fiberglass repaired it, and we've got really strong resin and matting. So now it's just like it should have been out of the mold. And then you can see along the front there is that big air pocket in the headlight pot along the eyebrow, and that's almost perfect. We got a little more spot putty to put on there, but we've repaired that. So that's the passenger front. So we were talking earlier about where all the mold seams are, and we talked about cleaning it all out. So basically what I'd like to do before we cover the rest of these seams is just to show what you need to do, or what's really important or crucial steps whenever you're doing, whether it's a Factory 5 Racing, anything that's a fiberglass mold. We build a lot of tribute cars and work with Corvettes and a lot of fiberglass. And when it's a mold where the seams are, so we're just basically looking at the driver's side post, and then you come along the roof line, you can see where we have body smoother, where we've been going across where all of the seams are. So that's just the first skim. So it looks kind of nasty right now. We just basically laid that in, and then once it dries, then we'll start to block sand that out, and we'll get that closer to being level. But before we do that part, we talked about an earlier video where you have these seams, and you can see now we've used an air tool and we've basically cleaned out all of those grooves, because in these grooves they have the most important thing to get out of there is wax. So they don't want the mold to stick and obviously not get the fiberglass body out of the mold, so they use basic type of wax, and then when you go to pull the body or the mold out, you've got adhesive or glue that comes through the seams where they've joined, say, this front cowl to that side cowl, which would be basically an extension of the fender. So when they do that seam, and then they add the seam going up where they've joined it into the roof line, there's glues and adhesives, but then there's also wax. So you have to basically go in there with an air tool. It looks kind of barbaric, but you really need to be really careful when you're in there, and you basically get in all the nooks and crannies, and then you use acetone, and then you wash all of these seams with acetone, and that neutralizes anything that's in there, so that when we go to apply, say, the body filler and then later primer and paint, it's not going to react to those items that are in there. So that's a really important step. So those of you that want to do this at home or do your own Factory 5 bodywork, just make sure please that you eliminate all of the stuff that's in all of the seams. Make sure you use acetone to clean, to neutralize it before you apply your body smoother. And in the back we have our first step of this rear wing. Most people that build these just follow the directions, and they basically use pop rivets and pop rivet the wing on, where we want to make it look like it's molded in as one unit or one piece. So we've went ahead and that's the first step. Basically is we had to shape it and trim it back, and then once it was shaped and trimmed, then we basically screwed it into place, dry fitted it. Once we were happy with it, then we used a special 3M two-part epoxy adhesive that's made specifically for this application. Fiberglass bonding to fiberglass. So then once we had it bonded to the body, and then we allowed the 24-hour curing time, then we created a mixture of resin and then our fiberglass matting. And then you can see where we've basically, that's just the first coat. So it looks kind of rough right now, kind of sloppy looking, but what we'll do is once that's fully cured, then we'll sand all of that, and then we'll, that we know it's going to be nice and strong and bonded, and then once we do that, then we'll start performing the body smoothing work to that. So then that spoiler is going to look like it's built in or molded as part of that body. And then you can see along the side, so we've done quite a bit of work here because we've got all of our seams along the back, around the fuel filler, and up the hatch, around the that quarter glass window, all across the roof, and then all across over to the front, and then down the post and up into the cowl. So those are all the areas that have the seams or mold seams or joints. So that's all been properly cleaned. That's the first coat of body smoother. And as we come to the front nose, this section along the top of the hood and fenders, that is the second coat, and we've block sanded all out. So now it's going to be ready for its basically a third coat, because there's some dips and a little bit of wave and low spots that we're going to eliminate with the next coat, and we'll block sand it out. And then once we get it closer with the block sanding, you can also see in the front nose where we've gone along, around, and along that lower fascia where the other seam is. So that's that'll be the second coat also of the body filler. So lots of progress, and what we'll do is we'll give you another update once we have all of this body smoother applied and blocked out a little bit closer and the body's closer. We'll remove this other dry fitted headlight out. We'll continue with the sanding and prep, and then before we prime the car, we'll basically do another little bit of a walk around just to share with you as the transition continues. So kind of a fun car to do. It's a lot of work, but it's going to be quite rewarding, I think. So this is the Factory 5 Racing Type 65 Coupe, and I thank you for watching. I'm John from lastchanceautorestore.com.